Broadcasting from beautiful Burbank, California, and somewhere in Florida. This is Anytime with Ken and Alden. I'm Ken Netzel. It's a Friday.
I can confirm it's not Disney World, as much as I wish it was, because that's the only part of Florida worth visiting. Hello.
Well, though I did see, did I see on the gram that Disney World unveiled their new Donald J. Trump edition to the Hall of Presidents?
Did they change and update him? Because he's been there.
He's been there? Okay.
He's been there since he won the first time.
Yeah.
Now I'm glad you brought this up, because now I have to ask you an important question. Are you familiar with the conspiracy theory about the Donald Trump animatronic at Walt Disney World?
Is it made with J.D. Vance's skin?
No, but I'm sure he would donate some if asked. He would do anything for it. He'd do anything to take his job. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Go on.
So, and honestly, this is one of those tangents that you can't prepare. So it's like, would I love to have had a graphic prepared for this? Yes, but I can't do it right now on the fly. However, you might be able to pull up an image or something. The animatronic of Donald Trump at this park, I promise you, Ken, I mean this from the deepest place of sincerity, looks like Hillary Clinton. And a lot of people theorize that they were already working on a Hillary Clinton because they, like all of us, were pretty sure of how that was gonna go. And then people think that they desperately had to do a sort of like a reverse drag situation on the Hillary and try to make it into a Donald. I'm telling you, man, the facial structure. Has anyone seen this? Someone validate me. The facial structure on Disney Trump. It's Hillary-esque, man. It's scary. It's real scary.
That's tragically fantastic. Well, all right. Well, let's go meet at Disney World. Let's go figure this out.
Yeah, man.
A lot to get to on the show. We're gonna have one of the, I don't know. We're trying to go not lo-fi. I can't help myself. I sound like I'm a radio man delivering weather all the time. But we're gonna go lo-fi on a big conversation. The power of platform. The good, the bad, the ugly, my personal journey with it, your personal journey with it. Does it work? What are the examples of it working, and why is it important? All the things in there. Inspired by a business merger that was announced this week between one of the biggest brands of music, one of the biggest brands in sports and podcasting. Of course, talking about the engagement of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, which I think is overall a good thing. It's a fine thing. It's a fine little corner of joy, but it has some big ramifications. We can talk about that. But we want to check in. Alden, this was given to me. I got a haircut this morning.
Okay.
All right, got a haircut this morning. And while I was getting my haircut, there was a nice old man who just got his haircut, and he was waiting for his wife to get her hair, her permanent finish, because I go to a very old barbershop where I walk in and I'm the youngest by 30 years. Always.
I'm sure there's great political takes throughout the shop, and I'm sure people are lovely.
Oh yeah. One time I heard a lady say, this was during the Biden years, but this is when, we thought maybe Trump would be going to jail. And she just loudly said, they're just treating that man so bad. And I could only laugh. You could only laugh.
Okay. All right.
Because they're all going to die soon anyways in that shop. But the guy handed me this. I was walking out. He goes, here's your thought for the day. So this thought from the day comes from the 15th president of the Church of Latter-day Saints, Gordon B. Hinckley, though Hinckley was misspelled on this paper I was given, which is funny. Being humble means we are not on earth to see how important we can become, but to see how much difference we can make in the lives of others. And you know what? I actually agree with that thought. Gordon B. Hinckley, 15th president of the Church of Latter-day Saints. Okay. I thought actually all that I was like, that kind of has a little bit to with what we're doing here today.
Yeah, that's a good ideological sort of starting point. That's really interesting. Yeah. Well, that was fortuitous. How did that come up? How did this?
He was in the corner. I was getting my haircut with my guy Richard, and Richard's hair salon down in Burbank, California. You can look it up. It has, I think, 1-star ratings. But I love it. I've been going there since the Collider days. And I just got up left, and the guy just walks up and goes, "Hi, your thought for the day." And you know
There
what?
you go.
I have a spiritual side to me, obviously, and sometimes I get these little tingles of like, I think this is going to have some relevance. I think this is really weird. I had one really weird example of that years ago. That's for another show, maybe, and I thought this was relevant. So that's all. And then I took a
There you
cookie and
go.
I left.
I like that. I like this moment. I like this set you on good course, perhaps for the weekend. That maybe this will be a weekend where, you know, more guiding lights find you throughout. Perhaps in the form of Taylor Swift and Travis, perhaps in the form of some other people we'll talk about today.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, this is. I'm okay. I mean, this is a week that was difficult. I had some difficult moments. I think it was that on Monday, I think I had one of my, I want to give up, I'm going to quit it all. Not in a concerning self way. Nobody think that, but I just meant like, I want to quit. I want to go off the grid. I want to sell everything I hated. And then I think by like Tuesday, I tired myself out, much like a toddler, just like having a little tantrum. And then Tuesday, I was like, well, at least there's new episodes of Alien and Star Trek and Peacemaker this week. Like I can make it at least to TV. I'm basically at the point in my life where like I just need pop culture to be like an IV drip, where it's like if I at least have something that I'm looking forward to every once in a while. Haley Williams released the album version of her epic singles project. Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party. There's a new Sabrina Carpenter album out today, which is very good. So there were things that were keeping the spirits up, but of course it was bleak. There was a lot of political stuff that of course is societal stuff that happened this week that is pretty horrific. Of course we want to mention, as we do all the time, which is the sad American reality, that we do this all the time. Just like the devastation that happened for these innocent children. Trying to start their school year, trying to go to church. That was heavy. I happened to be spending time with my nephews during that, which just adds a freakiness to it, to just like think about that they were the same age as some of these kids. And it's rough. And yeah, I mean, I have said it 1,000 times, but this is not like a debate anymore. This like, it's been over. I think that we're finally, getting to that place where now mayors and governors and people are starting to say this, which is good, that it's, you know, leave your thoughts and prayers out of it. That was the line this week, of course, because they were in a church. But I think being 29 and having come up sort of like my whole reality is sort of a post-Columbine reality. And so it's like I grew up realizing, oh, there was this thing that you all know about and you did nothing about. Like we have a built-in cynicism about it of like you guys aren't going to do anything to help us. And then there was another one and another one and another one, and it goes on and on and on. There was that great Daily Show piece where he listed like 30 of them and could have kept going. And yeah, I think it's just sad, you know, that we know nothing's going to happen. I don't mean that in a doomer way. I just mean that like logistically, like logically looking at the administration that we're in. You know, they want to say mental health, but then they also defunded schools all over to get rid of guidance counselors. And so, you know, they want to say one thing, do another, and we just all have to deal with it. And some families are destroyed forever. And that's just how it is. And I don't want to start the show being like, it's so bleak, but it's like, it is bleak. It is really sad. And it doesn't happen other places. Everywhere has mental health problems. You know, it's just something that we have to deal with, but that was hard. And it's also one of those things too, where it's like, it happens. And then you're like, but I'm going about my day. You and I talked about that a little bit off air of just like, we have to promote, we're sharing links, we're sharing clips, we're doing our thing, we're paying bills, we're, you know, whatever you were doing, everyone in the comments was doing something. And I doubt it was that as severe as what was happening, you know, like Svetnik was probably at the grocery store, David Mackay, you know, going for a jog. It's just like everybody has like whatever the thing was. And then it's like, oh, well, life is being destroyed over here. But that's just so it was a heavy week of, I don't know, trying to figure out, you know, the right cocktail of contemplation and sadness, but also I still have to have a day to get through.
Yeah, processing. And it's something like this with this shooting in Minnesota. as we always say, at any point around the world, you can pluck something out and be faced with the absolute horror that is the world, from Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, whatever whatever you want to look at. But I always say, at least for our country, when this happens, it is the thing that is slapped in front of you while you're having a meal or trying to get through your day. You're like, oh, I can't ignore this one, right? The other ones just seem to be part of the world cycle. I'm saying that in this, like, admitting that that's not even necessarily a good thing to do, but you could compartmentalize things. This one's like, and then you see clips of the kids being interviewed, which I know there was some debate on, should reporters interview 10-year-olds who were witness to this, or 8-year-olds. And I get the instinct to say maybe no, but also I think those are historical documents to me of, these are the people being shot up, the 8 to 9 to 10-year-olds. Let's hear their horrific tale, so it's less chance of it being forgotten. But like you said, I'm with you. It's not even cynical. It's not even I don't even know how to describe it. Right? It's not even giving up. It's just like, yep. And in 2 weeks there'll be another one because school's back.
It's like acknowledging. It's more of an acknowledgement of like the cycle we're in, right? It's like I would like for that cycle to not be cynical, but it inherently is. It's like this happens, and then immediately people want to pearl clutch and say things like, "Well, don't politicize their deaths," and it's like the fact that they could die at all is inherently political. So it's like, I didn't politicize it. You politicized it. They politicized it. And that doesn't sit right with me. Like after Sandy Hook, there's that quote, and I wish I knew who said it. Someone can look it up if they want, but it's like that the gun control debate ended there. Like when we couldn't come to the table there is no debate. You decided it was okay. The debate did end. It did have an answer. It did have a victor. And the victor was the NRA. The victor was Christo-fascists. The victor was gun fetishists. They won the gun control debate. It's like, until they are destroyed, then there's nothing you can do. Until the NRA is bled for every cent and dollar and shamed and treated the same way we treat the Klan, there's just nothing. It sounds extreme, but I mean it. It is extreme. There is no way to stop that level of like a parasitic relationship. Like I was here in Florida. I had just started my broadcast career proper at iHeart when the Stoneman Douglas shooting happened. And we had Rubio at that town hall where survivors asked him to his face if he would, cut ties from the NRA. And amidst their grief, funerals not even having taken place yet for all of them, he is like, well, they invest in my agenda. He couldn't even lie. He couldn't even come up with something. And that person, by the way, now gets to enact Netanyahu's agenda. So fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a storm. It's a storm that I'm resigned that I live in, and that's sort of how I felt about it.
Yeah. And 898 for him saying a reminder that the Second Amendment is a modern interpretation. 40 plus years there was gun control for like 150 years of history. And I like that in terms of a general comment there. But to me, this is also, when you're going back 40, 50 years, this is also with the abortion issue and everything, where it all becomes part of that post-Nixon, Johnson, all right, we as Republicans, how are we going to secure our power for the future? And it's make these core issues that you can't turn away from, right? And pro-life becomes something that's huge in like the 70s that it wasn't in the past, and it is so tied to your identity. So a lot of what we're talking about with like the guns and stuff, it is tied to your very identity. So you can't take that away. It's not just even about the guns. You're taking who I am, and that's part of what we're up against too.
And it also is like one of those things that when you play it against everything else that's happening in the country, and this can be a point of just like dunking on people and everything, but I mean it pretty seriously. Of like, you look at the level of tyranny that we're going through right now, that the executive can lie about crimes that are not taking place and then deploy the military against American citizens is happening right now. It's not could happen. It's not maybe will happen. It is happening right now. And all of these don't tread on me two-way little dick morons have done absolutely nothing. They haven't even gone as far as they've gone before with going into Walmart and Subway. Like, because you've seen them try to peacock with all their
Yeah.
rifles. You know, they got one
Yeah.
slung over the shoulder. They got 3 side pieces. Like they've done that a lot of like, look at me ordering my BLT strapped up because 2A. Like, and they haven't even done like a sidewalk appearance during all this. They've done diddly squat, and it has exposed what we all knew was nonsense.
Right.
You know, those of us that have argued against them knew it was nonsense, that they would never do anything to help anyone. They would never do anything to. We'll see what happens. Maybe when someone tries to get, you know, drag someone from one of their homes, if they feel really badass, then if suddenly all that great training from the range kicks in and they become John Wick. But it's just it's a joke. Like, it's an actual joke. And it's one of those things where people can't like, they want to argue about data or whatever, and it's like, my data is every other nation in the world. That's my data, where it does not happen. Australia had a mass shooting in the 90s. They nipped that shit in the bud so quick. Japan, I have never felt safer hanging out in a city at night than I did in Japan. It's just not in the culture. It's just not. But here it is. And and I, you know, and that is a dark way to start this, but like, platform, that's a platform issue that a lot of people have spoken out about in recent years, and a lot of people have made it sort of their how do I word this? I don't want to say pet issue in like a condescending way, but like their main focus point. Like, Julianne Moore is very involved with that type of thing. You know, there's a lot of celebrities that this is close to them. Kelsey Grammer, for better or worse, this has been an issue that altered his brain chemistry because of what happened with his family. So it's like, I think this is an American problem that people need to speak out about, you know. Does Travis Kelce have thoughts on the Second Amendment? I don't know. Can Travis Kelce spell amendment? I don't know that either.
No,
but Ken's like, I have it on good authority. He cannot.
No,
so
he can't.
So
yeah, no, absolutely, man. A dark way to start a show, because that's the reality of this week. And like I said, some weeks we have those times where we're like, we're just gonna talk music and unplug, and I still think that's valuable to survive as we all wade in the pool. But sometimes it's there. Sometimes it's there.
For sure. But
on that,
not shifting away, because it is there, and it is part of this the river of this conversation. But you and I this week, amidst our different levels of being plugged in and just in our conversations, got into this conversation that you thought of, that you said, hey, look, what about this topic of platform, in a way that was inspired somewhat by the impending nuptials of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, in other ways by the ongoing press tour of Mark Maron, his sort of combined ending of the podcast, releasing of the special tour that he is on, where he has most recently gone after Netflix through the point of business and fascism and platforming transphobia and all these different things. And we were just kicking it around about how these things are connected. You sent me some cool research to watch from the late 60s with John and Yoko and things like that. And so it's a wide ranging thing. So where do you start on it? What got you thinking about it? And was it me texting you mean things about Taylor and Travis?
It was you. It was a combination of all of it. We have the announcement of this engagement, which is, like I said, it's fine. It's a little burst of joy. The world is also not a surprise. And it is also, it is a business deal, essentially, for these two brands that is announced with great care and purpose. And I think that's the way you do it, and that's the way you have to do it with your teams around you, and you maximize it. Including, you're talking about Mark Maron. Like, Mark Maron is promoting his special. Like, I saw some clips of Hinchcliffe and stuff. People throw, he's just promoting a special. Yeah, that's what he's doing.
He knows that.
When he has the spotlight on it, he's not just using it as a time to bludgeon y'all. He's like, great, I have this spotlight. What do I want to do with that spotlight during this time? That is part of it. But yeah, you were texting me. It wasn't like you I saw this and went, oh God, we must talk about it. But like, you were texting me stuff about just kind of the general feeling of someone like Taylor Swift, who is, I know there's great examples of her using her money for good or being generous and all those things. This isn't about that. This isn't even an indictment of her. It's just
it's not anti-Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it's not anti-Taylor Swift. It's just because also I have some thoughts on the big picture. That's the concerns and this and that, and my own personal experiences with it in the Star Wars podcasting world. But she comes out leading up to the election. She's enemy number one for conservatives, which does put her in some sort of danger at times. She's enemy number one for the Orange false prophet at one point. Everything, and then since the election, I hadn't even really thought about it. There's been maybe some silence that you were pointing out, and that just made me think of, quite frankly, John Lennon and Yoko Ono using their marriage to promote the concept of peace, bed peace, hair peace, everything. It's a big part of Beatle lore if you're a Beatle nut like myself. But I hadn't looked at it in a long time, so I watched Yoko's piece. It's called Bed Peace, kind of an art. I wouldn't even call it a documentary. It's just a capturing of what happened during that time when they go to, I believe in this case it was to Toronto. They go into a bed. They invite reporters and celebrities and people of the day to just talk to them, and they use the spectacle of them to talk only about peace and how to bring about peace and change, even as dreamy as it might be, all those kind of things. And that just kind of got me thinking of the big picture of it all. I have a quote I wrote down I have to go get, but I'm going to walk and get up and go, so I apologize.
You
I forgot
go.
to grab it. I got it.
No, it's all right. Yeah, so Ken sent me, it's available online for free. YouTube has it. Yoko Ono and John Lennon's piece. Like Ken said, it's not even like a documentary made over time because it is one thing, but it's sort of like the living document of an installation. Like you're watching everybody enter and leave while they stay, and it's all the conversations. And they were essentially podcasting long before the medium was invented, because there is no broadcast equipment really there except what each journalist brings and then the film camera that they have. It's a very simple thing to watch. There's a lot of stuff that will anger you, but there's also some stuff where you're like, yeah. So it's definitely, it's extremely relevant, very timeless. You get to hear
you're mostly talking
John
about
Lennon
Al Cap. Yeah.
That right up top, the documentary will piss you off just because it has some very 1960s racism, some sexism, disrespecting, like, hey, tell your wife to shut up type stuff, said very flippantly, and nobody bats an eye at it. So there's a lot of that in it, but yeah, it is interesting to see sort of like the line between there and here, and it gets you thinking, like, what would the modern equivalent be? Could there be a modern equivalent? Like, who would do it? Do we have someone like that? Because it's also about the part of a conversation about platform is size of platform, right? Like, Taylor Swift and the Beatles are important to bring up in this conversation together, because it's really the Beatles, Michael Jackson, and her for like size of influence, size of platform, footprint, finances. And it's like, that was sort of what I had. I texted you something that I was like, I want to post this jab, but I don't want to have the combination of Zionists and Swifties in my replies. Which
1-2 punch.
Yeah, which obviously different groups. But it's sort of like the, I was saying what I texted Ken. I'll say it here, but what I texted Ken was, I know he can't read, but would he be able to point out Gaza on a map to help her out? Because what frustrates me is like sort of the martyrdom of like that she gets put on this pedestal. There's not an issue with her, but it's an issue with like the enterprise of her, the business arrangement that you said. Famously, she creates this documentary called Miss Americana, right? Where she talks about the responsibility of her platform and the push and pull, the will I, won't I, like, should I speak? How much should I speak about whatever it is about using this? And then the endorsement that was like news in and of itself, even though it really did absolutely nothing. I will give it actual credit. I believe they said that 30,000 registrations came after that. So it's like, cool. But yeah, and then the second the election's over, radio silent. Absolutely radio silent. So it is, I'm not asking you to solve it. I'm not asking you to suddenly take up a position of like an ambassadorship in the UN, the way that I think Angelina Jolie has and a couple other people. Like, I'm not saying change your career. But I am saying, like, do you exist in this world? Do you? Because it gets, because we have to be fair in our, as fair as we can be in our throwing of stones, right? Like, I can't,
Yes.
in good conscience, say if you have X amount of money and you use none of it to help, that's bad. When money and platform are both resources, right? Like, I can't say Bezos could solve all these issues with his money and he doesn't, and that's morally repugnant. And then also not say the same for voice and giving a voice and giving eyes to things. Like, the fact that I'm not saying YouTuber derogatorily, because I know sometimes we say a YouTuber, like, no, but I mean, like, the fact that a YouTuber, Miss Rachel, you know, can get out there and become the face of this, coming from nothing, openly saying, if it destroys my career, so be it, as people are calling for her head and her safety is in jeopardy, and she's not you, then it opens up the, well, what's your excuse sort of side of it, right? And it's like, you can't even give me the, well, you don't understand record deals and all this and her livelihood, because it's like, there's a point where you transcend damage. There's nothing that she could do that would damage her at this point. She won't live long enough to spend every dollar that she has. She's hit that threshold. And so, you know, it becomes frustrating. And it's like, you don't want to be like, and therefore she sucks and I hate her. It's not that. If she was in this room right now, she'd probably be like, why am I in this poor person's room? That would probably be her first reaction. But her second reaction would be like, I'm sure she would say, hi, how are you? She seems nice. It's not that. But it's just like,
not that.
But it is frustrating. It is very frustrating.
Yeah, and that's part of the conversation that I wanted to have, is not even with any great authority, just kind of looking back, and I look at this era, and again, I think you're right, looking at the Beatles, and there's other big ones, Elvis and this and that, but the Beatles had, there's something, this isn't about what do you like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. This is, the Beatles had an influence the Rolling Stones didn't at the time in the 60s, and I still think that's true. The Stones still go on. I love Mick, I love Keith, I love it. It's not a music debate. It is like, as John Lennon famously said, you know, we're bigger than Jesus, which was taken out of context and was also one of the first big examples of, we shall then try to destroy the career of this person. There's folk singers in the 40s and 50s that happened before, but on this level, assassination attempts, worried about gunshots, the Beatles take the stage thinking they might get shot, like all those kind of things in 65, 66. So there was this cultural pushback against anyone that spoke. And we still have that, right? We still have the stay in your lane, fuckwads, that say that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to watch it change to the point where there is an expectation now. And I think it's a good expectation, but it's one I've wrestled with over the years. You know that, but expectation of using your platform, which it can be dangerously performative. It can be all those kind of things, but it's not about that much today. But it's just like, I like that there's an expectation now that if you don't use it, that's more of a problem. Where, you know, in 1971, Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On," one of the greatest songs of all time, is a Vietnam War protest song that he made the decision, if this ruins me, I've got to do it. And we from that year, we go to where we are now. And I like where we are now, even though, you know, not everyone is up to it, I guess.
Yeah, and with that, I also like where we're at, and I'm in the age group where it was more of a reality. I probably felt a shift and a growth of that, whereas like I kind of came up with it already being a thing, and then becoming more so and more so a thing. Like, when you look at, like, nobody was asking Britney Spears to talk about, you know, these things. Like, so it has definitely still changed in my lifetime, but
in general,
it was
right?
always
Maybe there was some Rolling Stone reporter that asked her about, you know, what's going on in the Middle East. I don't know, but in general, that's a great point, Olin. In general, we had this dividing line of, oh, cool, Britney and X-Teen are on screen, I'm going to enjoy that, and then over here I'm going to deal with the news. And now there seems to be this, you know, cool, what are they going to say about it?
And we had some notable, we had some notable examples that touch on what you talked about as well. The band, now the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, who were dragged and ousted and crucified amongst the conservative community and the country music community because they dare speak ill of the president of the United States overseas. Now, of course, it's like, you know, what a canyon of difference between that and now. But it is something that I've sort of grown up with, and I think there's something to be said there too of like, you never want, it's a tightrope walk because you don't want to fall into the trap of needing people with big platforms, whether that's a celebrity, a philanthropist, whatever it is, a businessman, to validate your opinions. You should have these opinions regardless of whether or not they do. You shouldn't need it to, because sometimes people get really stupid about it. And I mean really stupid online, where they think that they can shit on someone else's favorite musician, let's just say, and be like, well, they haven't spoken up about this, and my musician, my favorite has. It's like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
That to me is blatantly stupid.
That to
that's
me
not
is
what
what
it's
I
about.
That's when I go into the performative and I get rather aggressive with people over that, because I'm like, Cole, did you ask your grocery store clerk today what they thought? Because that's their job. This is their job. And there's a bigger discussion you and I are having, but that's where I've been at sometimes. Like, cool, did you talk to your dentist about it? Because that's what they get up and go do. This is what I get up and go do. But I have people listening, so I understand the responsibility. But that's where I start to push back. I think that's an excellent point. It ruffles my feathers. Look at this. Feathers are ruffled.
When it becomes you ruffled him, internet. He's ruffled. Ken is ruffled. But yeah, no, it is ruffling, because it's like that falls into stan culture stuff. That falls into I know them and everything. And it's like, no, I don't know them. It's not about that. But what you said there about that, what we do is public facing. And we've worked in broadcast media for your entire career, me my entire career, like different ways, different forms, of course, digital versus terrestrial, whatever it is. But there's a voice there. It's important. Like that, small or big, like it becomes like there are certain jobs that I think do have more responsibility than other jobs. And that's maybe not fair.
They do. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
But as I've been told by every, older white man that I've ever met in my life, life's not fair. That's what I've been told. So I'm just saying, like,
Alden, life's not fair. Let me tell you something.
It's not.
Life ain't fair.
And you know what? No. Those guys, they're right.
Yeah. I've watched it change where, it like I said, the expectation has changed. And my influence is so tiny, right? But it's like being part of a listen to Star Wars podcast. There were times you and I talked about it where it's just like, I make money off this. I need to determine how best to handle that money. So let me figure out the best way to talk about it, versus a lot of you just want us to go blurt something out on social media, which becomes this weird clout war that I didn't want to get involved in. But even that has changed over time, where I'm like, yeah, we as Force Center know where our center is, know where our political soul is, and we talk about it. And yeah, we've lost some. We've also, it's funny, we've lost some. We lost one recently. We lost a longtime listener who wrote us, and I hadn't thought about this angle on it, Alden. It was interesting. I actually want to get your thoughts on it. I don't know if this is the right time to insert it, but I'm inserting it. This is a longtime listener who was like, hey, and they did all the correct caveats, progressive, this and that. I don't come to you guys for this. I come to you for the escapism in Star Wars, which you're immediately like, ah. But then he goes, I listen to a lot of shows for the political stuff with experts. You three are not experts. I don't need your opinion on it. I want to watch Star Wars. And it rattled me a little bit. It rattled me. I was just like, oh, okay. And they left, and they're done, and they're gone. They're out of their Patreon page, and it's not going to stop us. But it was the first time I was like, it wasn't just the escapism. It was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. So I go talk to those people. I go listen to those people. It was a different kind of stay in your lane.
I think that is logically bankrupt. And the reason why I think it's logically bankrupt is this. By this person's logic, no disrespect to them. No disrespect. I mean, a little disrespect. But like, I need to start being realistic about that too. Sometimes we say no offense. Sometimes no disrespect. And it's like, no, some is intended. Some is intended. Minor offense and minor disrespect toward this person. It's just like, by that same logic, then there should be very, 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 very few teachers.
Right.
Because especially in the K through 12 range. Professors, they go down that lane and they're professor of that. But it's like, I know that most of the people, I know this for a fact, just thinking about them now. My retention of who taught me is very good. I remember all my teachers. I know not one of them is a Holocaust scholar. I know not one of them is a biochemist. I can keep going. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It is ridiculous to say that only experts should speak about anything. Now, there's a line, of course, where expertise should be a requirement. Let's look at the CDC currently being run by a worm zombie. I would prefer that it was not. I would prefer that it was being run by somebody with qualifications.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just like Michael McCarcel says, by his logic, no one can be an expert on Star Wars. You can't get a degree in Star Wars. Yeah, that too. It's yet. And when the degrees come, you best believe that Force Center will be there capping down for those Star Wars degrees. But yeah, so it's like I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the breaking point for that person was, you know.
Yeah, no, and it's all like I said, it ain't stopping us. It was one of the first time because you're going through it and you're like, I've heard I come to you for escapism, which I want to say something. I actually understand. Right?
Yeah.
That's the reason I put on some things in my life to watch. Absolutely. There is great value. This is why as a comic, not everything I say on stage is going to have great meaning. Sometimes it's just a poop joke. I absolutely actually understand that. But it's weird. There's a second part of it rattled me because again, it has become an expectation that I keep saying that as if it's a bad thing. But I understand it. And I've changed a little bit about it, become more confident in my approach to it. Because also, as I've gone through changes, it's like, I'm not going to come right on out and say, I don't run to post something that's never first on my mind. But I want to learn more about it. I want to take the time. I have complicated views on it because of past and transitioning to my future as in political, and I was working through a lot. So I've changed a little bit about it. And I think I love the expectation more than when I was starting out. I think it's a good expectation that many fall short of.
Yeah, many fall short of it. And I think that it just comes down to this idea of how long can you pretend like you're not a participant, I think is part of it.
Yes.
Like then I think some people think that, well, that doesn't affect me, or I'm not. That's something that was very present in the in Yoko's piece, in Bed Piece, because it's like that idea that right off the top too, right in the middle of that first argument is the idea of, she says, well, we're all married because we're all one human race. We all affect each other. What happens to one of us, Yoko essentially explains Phantom Menace in the first 5 minutes of this.
She really does. Well, you can tell.
It's a symbiote circle.
Yeah. No, and you could tell that George emerges from that era. Absolutely. I'm so glad you pointed that out. It's like Yoko's going, and the aesthetic of the Phantom Menace is circles and round things. It's things with no edges. It's all through the film. Oh, did you not pay attention? You just wanted to make jokes about Jar Jar. I got it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's a symbiote circle. What happens to one of you will affect the other. You must understand this. You to say, are people going to die? It's all over that, and that's that again is also why I find that person that abandoned the show to be a little bit laughable, because it's like, if you went to a show that was doing dialectical analysis of art through that lens, you guys have been bringing this up. I can attest as a listener for at least 8 or 9 years, but you guys have been going for like a total of 11 now, so 11 years where you all have dissected this stuff. And if in the dissection you couldn't hear the ideas, then you didn't want to hear it. I don't really have anything. And because it's like, you can be like, oh, I'm here for fun, and it's like, well, we've never just given you that. Then
right, yeah, but also say, absolutely. And you said something I liked. I think there's an I keep saying the word expectation, but I think with audiences, it is kind of this: are you participating in this world that we're in? And I think if you 100% ignore it, and I think that's one of the things I've learned too in my own life, and not to make it so egocentric to myself, but in my own journey, but as what I do as a comic and a podcaster. But like, I think I can promote a podcast now on I got to get this out because it's my job. And I think people now understand more who I am and what I will say on my shows, or what I will stand for, or what I think. And so they understand I'm participating. So therefore, on a Wednesday, Ken's also got to promote his Blathering Mailbag now on YouTube. He's got to do that, but I know he also is experiencing this with us, and I think that's part of the sincerity that is asked for from our entertainers now.
Yeah, I think it's you want a human being. I've said it before. One of my favorite comics, and he's a current comic, is Mulaney. He's one of the biggest comics in the world. He's not a political comedian. You wouldn't characterize him that way. But one of his more famous bits is the horse in a hospital, to describe what it's like to have Donald Trump as the president of the United States. And he's like, it's like if you let a horse loose in the hospital. And he goes down this whole, rabbit hole of what that is and what that's like. And it became this big thing that everyone was like, oh, I can relate to that. And it's not that he was there going full Carlin on stage and talking about the secret club that you're not in and all that stuff, where it was being said directly, but he was giving voice to the feeling of exasperation and the absurdity. And it's like, sometimes, like, I don't have the same requirement for everybody. I don't need everyone to be Carlin, but it is nice when even a comic that's not is like, by the way, I also am going crazy about this. By the way, this also is making me feel this way. That creates more of a connection of like, oh wow, he really put into words the confusion and the ridiculousness of it. So that I don't need everybody to have the same path. I don't need Taylor Swift to get on the Freedom Flotilla and go over there herself. I don't need Taylor Swift to break her record deals and like burn stuff and like it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm laughing because that'd be great. Number one. Two, I didn't picture Greta Thunberg and her team. I pictured from Arrested Development season 1 where they're all on the boat. Is that a pirate? Is that a pirate?
Brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but yeah,
see, I like
it's like I don't need that from her. But like, you look at if you analyze. I'm going to use the word class. I don't mean hierarchical that way, but I just mean like in an RPG term, like the class. Like if the class is pop stars of a certain fame, then it's like, how come Billie Eilish can speak about this and share resources and talk about artists for Ceasefire and like et cetera, who's been in the game less time than you and has sold less records than you and does not, even though she is one of the biggest stars in the world, it's like Taylor Swift transcends big star. Her tour is like the GDP of small nations. Like I think I mentioned this to you or on the show, but like there was an article that like one of her shows came up on the Richter scale. Like it is insane. It is that Beatlemania level stuff. And again, I don't feel like I'm asking for a lot, but like nothing, but like really nothing. Like it also goes to show, this is a slightly different topic, but I think it ties in about what is considered like sort of like the Americanized normal, that in her mind, and again, I don't know her, but you could probably assume based on her actions or lack thereof, that she is one of those people, like a lot of people, and this is part of the problem, that they think that electoral politics is that I only have to care every 4 years in the fall. And that's it.
Because I'm being asked, right?
Because I'm being asked. I do my civic duty once every 4 years. I show up. And for her, that going beyond just that into endorsing might be a leap in her brain. But it's like that has also changed, where it's like I understand now, and my generation understands more and more, that electoral politics is every day you wake up, and beyond just electoral politics, how you treat each other, society. Back to Yoko's point, the Phantom Menace point of it all, where she's being scoffed at for suggesting that they affect each other. And what's the gentleman's name again? I forget.
Al Cap, former legendary satirist of the 1930s with the comic strip Little Abner, died in 1979, discovered later to be quite the sex pest and sex predator.
Thank you. So you can understand the type of person we're dealing with based on that summary. Yes. But like, even in the context of just 1969, you don't write for me. You don't speak for me. I'm not of the same, whatever race you're a part of. I'm not a part of that. I don't, don't talk to me about Martians. Like, there is this, how dare you suggest that we're connected? And that is timeless. That's what I took away from the documentary the most, where I was like, oh, wow, there are Al Caps right now. In fact, a lot of them, and they're very wealthy, that are suggesting that we are that's isolationism. That's the I have to get mine. That's so American. And I think when you combine that and the apathy with the, I'll say, how do I word this nicely? I will say with the convenient, the convenient sort of blaseness of like a Taylor Swift, that that's a recipe for suppressing ideas in a lot of ways, not intentionally. I don't think Taylor Swift wakes up every day and says, nobody show me anything about what's going on in the world.
No.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
But the idea that it doesn't cross her mind, or that it doesn't cross her team's mind, that's an environment that is created by all of these factors. That's something that is, that happens this way. Now, then, of course, I know we can get into the more specifics on the two of them, of like who her boyfriend or now fiance platforms, who they associate with, who they're hugging, who they're podcasting with, who, like there's some things that I definitely would not do. I'm not going to assume the way someone votes until they do a shitty ad campaign and then we find out. But that's, again, I'm not asking for a lot. And when it comes to, I guess the billionaire class of it all, because I talked the other day about her being a billionaire and all that, and someone was like, well, George Lucas is a billionaire. And I'm like, you know what? I'm actually glad you brought that up, because they were trying to not like dunk on me, but like sort of being like, well, what about that? What's different about that? And I'm like, what's different about that is that there is a reality that you can't get rid of it all, just in terms of the way the business structure is and income and all that. But like, somebody is at least, especially for his age, he's at the age and demo that usually does not give a shit at all. And in fact, goes out of their way to make it worse. And he's immediately given away half the sale money when that happened. He's pumping it all back in education. He's been fighting with NIMBYs forever. He's been out there talking about colonialism forever. He's now creating this museum for the express purpose of, as he says, to deliver the people's art, back to the people, to democratize, to try to make this open and accessible, to get rid of an elitism. And it's like, if I have to have a billionaire, I would like that. That's what I'm saying. It's not me saying, wow, and he's the model for everything. It's me saying there's a class of access and power, and can we at least do something? Robert Downey Jr., do I think he should be pulling in $80 million base salary for the next movie? Certainly not. That is a ridiculous sum. However, he pumps so much of it into trying to create more of a green planet. He's trying. He's doing it. Just pick something.
When it comes to the billionaire covers, do you need that much money? No, and it's like, but I'm with you. If you're there, what are you going to do with it? And I can at least get behind that. And George is a great example. George has long histories of, you don't like my, I'll build low income housing in your rich neighborhood. You don't like this, I'll give the money away. I always say it's so frivolous in the bigger picture here, but like, watch Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. George and his writers are laying it on the line, man. You know who George is politically. If you didn't already, you know it because of that series. It's pretty impressive what
and using the art. I mean, this is talked about to death.
Yeah.
And you've talked about it a lot on Force Center. I've talked about it on Octa Radio and other places, but like, especially generationally too, how he has Revenge of the Sith outright quoting Bush and really getting in there and like trying to reflect that stuff, and how your life experience at the time that you bristled with that just because it's like, well, isn't that a little too on there? Like, what are you doing? Like, and a lot of people had that, like, oh, here we go, he's quoting. But it's like growing up in it, it's like, yeah, man, like it gives you like an attitude. Like I like the fact that, to go to a more recent example, I like that hot girl killed Netanyahu, as he was called on a podcast that I was on. Like, it's like I enjoy seeing that, that there was a really like, hey, everyone, we're talking about something like that gets written off sometimes as preachiness. I think that's also part of all of this, is that there's a fear of preachiness. There's a fear of like, why are you shoving the message down my throat? Why are you? And it's like, why are you so anti-intellectual? Why are you so anti-education? Why are you so anti having these conversations? We don't hold people to the fire enough for that in America. It's like everything is immediately a I just felt like they were preaching at me. I just felt like, what can't I just watch a movie? And it's like, why is it so bad to be preached at? So you can only be preached at if it's in a non-taxed environment once a week with bake sales and a collection plate. That's the only place you can be preached at.
It's so interesting. Yeah, actually, I kind of like. Yeah, I don't agree with that. But but like that's kind of the way it was structured. It really was. And so I just had someone else in my life, 20 years older than me, in broadcasting, from my hometown, but he's successful and everything. Like he's written a couple movies down here and everything. But like he publicly complained about Superman. It was like, it was great until it started getting too real world. And he is, for the most part, he sometimes plays it cool, but he is progressive and has been on air being progressive in a town that is not. And he just had that, almost like that guy Quentin Force Center, where he was like, Superman was great until I could tell it was about the real world. And I'm like, is that because that's what Walter Cronkite does and your pastor on Sunday, and anything else, you can't accept it, even though horror films were preaching political messages, Star Wars, as we know, everything. Like, even though that was always the case. In fact, there's probably a chance you love What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, but have not listened to the lyrics. Like it was fascinating. It's not just
these are
generation.
These are the fortunate son people. We could list 100 songs. These are the Born in the USA people. It's like, there's so many songs that they're just like, why are they? And then, why is Bruce hating on our dear president? Why can't he just get up there and perform?
Yeah. Was there a recent example of someone on the Republican side using fortunate son at a rally or something? Did I call that? I mean, it's probably happened.
Yeah, that just happened.
But I thought there was a fairly recent one where I was like, even now?
That happened. Yeah, still fortunate son. Yeah. No, but you're right. It is that structure. Like, we've accepted that. To talk about platform, if we're putting it in the context of the whole idea, some people think that only some jobs have or even deserve a platform. This connects, I think, a little bit to what is considered real work, what's considered fun, hobbyist stuff. Like this is something that really grinds my gears, to borrow a McFarlaneism. It really, really bothers me, and I've had to express this to some family members recently. I know that there are people in my family that don't think that I've ever actually worked, like, for real.
Right.
And I know you've gone through this too. It's something that I really, it makes me want to scream. It makes me want to scream. It makes me want to scream that there are people that don't think that I've ever actually done work, because it's talking or it's writing or it's what, producing, which is a verb that really doesn't mean anything anymore, but it's like, it has so many different functions. But like that I think there's a line between that of like, only some jobs are real to only some jobs can say something real. And that is, I don't have necessarily the verbiage to quantify that perfectly right now. I have to think about it a little bit more, but I think there's something there too, that there's a level of, I don't know. It's just a level of like, we have a tiers of importance in our society that affect us in so many ways, like people looking down on garbage men, or people looking down on teachers or whatever, that does affect also whose words we think matter. And that's definitely become a part of it. And maybe that, again, I'm creating thoughts for a woman I've never met and probably never will meet, with Taylor Swift. But it's like, is there a world where Taylor Swift gets up in the morning, runs her empire, does her thing, writes songs, plays guitar, whatever it is she does in her day, wedding dress shops now, and in that, does she have in her mind like, well, being a singer doesn't matter? That's like, can you get to that level and still have that? That's fascinating to me, that maybe there is a little bit of that. Like, does Taylor Swift have moments of dread where she's, standing in the shower in the morning just thinking, am I a jester? Am I a court jester for society?
I mean,
should I, I don't know, maybe.
It's possible. Look, I'm unapologetically an Oasis fan. You will not talk me out of it. I am unapologetically an Oasis fan. Love them, and I love them because of what they are. I signed up to root on for those louts, you know. And Noel even recently has come out and been like, why should a rock star say anything? It doesn't fucking matter. Just play your music. Like, and I love it in a way because, again, that's why I'm buying the ticket to him. But it's also disappointing. And I still wonder what his daughter thinks, who's somewhat rather outspoken on her Instagram page, if you follow her on certain issues. And I just think that's the prevailing thought that we're also up against when we're having these conversations. And that is the stay in your lane. That is, unless it's something I agree with, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're saluting that flag, not kneeling in front of it, you dumb football player. Like that's kind of what we're functioning with. And to break out of it, going back to John and Yoko, bed piece, them sitting in bed, being intentionally absurd. John saying, yeah, everyone just grow your hair and, you know, stop fighting, grow your hair. Like, they're using it. There's a line that's attributed to them that's not actually from them. I think it's actually more from Neil Innes as Ron Nasty and the Ruddles of Yoko and I doing this for peace. It's like, that's kind of they were mocked to their face.
Yeah.
And it was a joke. And it was these little singers doing these weird things. They were just, and I don't think there was any expectation from John and Yoko's part that they were going to change the world. But it was like, what if we tried? And what if you just, you're seeing our name because we know our announcement of our marriage. And I think at the time, a new album, John, I think famously returned his little member of the British Empire little, prize. I think he returned it because the single Cold Turkey didn't hit number one. And he was pissed off. John's Not Perfect, which put a pin in that. But to watch them be treated like clowns because they were going outside the lane. That's still the prevailing thought, right? That's still, and even with someone like Marin, you're just promoting your special, man.
Yeah,
and
you're just promoting your special.
That's the Dick Gregory quote I wanted to bring. So Dick Gregory's in Bed Piece, and I think some people know who he is, some people don't. I'll do a quick recap. Very, very genius level stand-up comedian in 50s into the 60s out of the mob run club days. He was a black performer in that era. And he spoke truth to power in a way that was hilarious, insightful, and he almost could not be touched. He was so damn good at it. I really do believe Dick Gregory is one of the great comedians of all time. But he got heavily involved with, civil rights, black men in the 60s, and he had a platform. And he felt it was important to do something about it. Now, he lives a long life. By the time I get to know him, he's a gray, bearded Cosby guest star pitch man. He also got weirdly into some healthy Make America Health stuff later on in his life. Another conversation. But
look, man,
at his peak, and he had some points. It was about health. It was also about world hunger.
Getting old is such a roll of the dice.
It is. But he's in Bed Piece. He goes, and he has this great quote because he has this idea of like, hey, you guys want to stop capital punishment. You as the Beatles should do this thing where you film someone being executed, but you sell it as a special, and you get the world to tune in. Saturday at noon, Beatles are launching something special, and then go live to someone being executed. And he goes, you'll end it tomorrow. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But that's what his point was. And they come up with the idea of publicity. And Dick Gregory says, morally dedicated entertainers have to do things for publicity as long as it is morally pure. Meaning he understands the game. He understands the platform and the use of it. And that's in 1968 into 69. And this is a guy who essentially gave up his stand-up career. A lot of people don't know him because he was nothing but an activist. And I say nothing. He was an activist. More than a comic, but he was always a comic at his heart. Anyways, I that struck me. I watched that clip, and that's when I wanted to text you and be like, that's what this is also about for me too. Of morally dedicated performers and people with a voice have to understand it in a way we didn't normally need to, want to, and have to. And I think that's it's frustrating that was 68 into 69 when the film comes out, I think. And we're still battling that. That speaking out is still an eye roll because it's easier not to, as we know. And
I think what I love about that too is it's like you said, the understanding of the game that you're in, the understanding of the confines of the industry that you're in, connecting that to something like, with Marin out there, in his actual written material, calling out Theo Von, and then on the press tour, offhandedly calling out Dave Chappelle, calling out Netflix, calling out fascism and the algorithms and all that, everything that he's been talking about it gets written off by assholes as like, well, he's just promoting his special, which is ironic considering that some of these people have been actual jesters for fascism, especially Hinchcliffe, and then it's like, well, aren't you guys the people that like put so much importance on the questions you ask on your little shows? Is you sharing a clip of that also not promo? So it's like, what are we talking about here? The acknowledging that we all have jobs. Congratulations. Like, you acknowledge that Marin also has a job. Like, you acknowledge that he has bills to pay. He's very open about this. His old mother calls him during his podcast sometimes, that he takes care of. It's like, yeah, he has a life with shit to take care of. So it's like, I don't understand what kind of gotcha that is, but it opens up that conversation connecting to Gregory's quote of, you have to sometimes work within the machine that you don't like nobody's, it connects to the no ethical consumption under capitalism, which we hear a lot, but it's like, I can share resources about Gaza. I unfortunately, as it stands, do sort of have to engage with Mark Zuckerberg's platform to do so. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. It sucks. To have the conversation we're having right now, we are engaging with Google. That is just the reality. We are on Google's platform right now.
And I value that. I think it is the nasty side effect, but it's like I have a friend who refuses to step foot in the comedy clubs because of a lot of the comics they book, which trust me, I understand. There's a lot of people, sometimes bigger names that are on shows where I'm like, it's just a shame that they're booked here, but they get to go say what they need to say, but I get to say what I want to say. And my frustration with him is he kind of also tears the rest of us down for doing it. But he has almost an invisible career. And so he can't even speak out of any against any of, not even the names, but the ideas that they're putting in their humor. You've given up that platform for good moral reasons. I stand by it. But then you have no voice, and therefore they're getting the voice.
Yeah,
and it's
hard. And I'm not saying it's
right.
I'm not saying it's clean. Right. I'm not saying it's a clean break. I'm not saying it's like easily done. I'm not calling it really. I was about to say, it's a seating of the ground. It's not even a seating of the ground. It's just, even if you have your reason for allowing them to have that territory, they have that territory. It still happens. And so it's like, for Marin, it sort of opens up an idea too, which is kind of leaving Gregory's point, but it is still connected of like, I also think that people have, and it does connect to what you just said. I think people have a responsibility sometimes to take care of their own house, whatever that is. Comics deal with comics, singers deal with singers. Like, it's almost like I don't expect, I don't need like the world to demand that Taylor Swift speak, but it would be nice almost if like other singers did, right? Like that's what's interesting to me. Like,
what do you think? What do you think her and Haley Williams talk about? They're good friends. Haley,
I don't know.
Almost every post is political.
I know, the Lord, maybe. I don't know. Do they both still believe? It's really hard to say, right? Like, it's interesting. Like, I think about this too. It wouldn't be a Ken and Alden conversation if wrestling didn't come up once. But it's like, I think about this now with professional wrestling, especially with you got people at the top of the industry, your Becky Lynch, your Sami Zayns, that are openly pro-Palestine, but their openness has to be coded. It has to be in the colors of their gear. It has to be in, I'm not saying these things, but I took pictures of graffiti that said this thing. Like, it has to be all coded. Meanwhile, other people can be outright about lies, about bullshit, about anti-science, whatever. And it's like, I almost wish the boys would take care of the boys in that way. I almost wish that there would be backstage fights about it. And I in the same way that I wish cops would take care of cops, in the same way that I would. This is a idealistic notion. I understand that, but it almost feels like the spheres have to handle themselves before we all. Because if we all start to get so concerned about every other sphere, then that is, I think, sometimes that line toward those stand culture fights of like, how could you support this wrestler because he didn't say anything about, and that's like, okay, man, like I don't have that much time in a day, so it's like our sphere has to be I'm not patting myself on the back. I haven't made an impact, I know that, but like, I have drawn harsh ass lines for myself of who I'm gonna podcast with, who I'm gonna broadcast with, who I'm gonna I've said this before openly, but it's like I got loosely laid off from iHeart. Not really. I was sort of just like, we don't have anything for you right now. And then I got like paid for a few pay cycles, and they were like, all right, we really can't just let you sit around. And they offered me the chance to produce a right-wing talk in Miami. And I was just like, well, I'm not doing that. And maybe I should have, you know, financially, I probably should have, but morally, it's like, I know I made the right call. That's me taking care of my house. And I didn't get that guy's show canceled, but like, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to help it. And I think that that's what Marin is doing again. And Marin is not me, and I'm not Marin, but like him going out there and like, he's not demanding that everybody in the world do X, but he is like, I reached a certain level in my field, and so help me, I want my field to be better. And I think that that is commendable in its way. I don't think that he views himself as a hero, but I do think that he realizes that he and people like him are outnumbered in comedy right now. And I think that he wants it to swing the other way, and he should try.
Yes, he's got, and I know, and I know you have, that's the Pod Save America thing. Got it. You go crazy in the comments, kids. I don't watch it regularly, but his interview last week was the best of his until the end of it, because the interviewer definitely, it's a weird vibe. But in the heart of that interview, some of Marin's best stuff of what's been going on and how he's just pointing to these truths. And I think his greatest point is, no, I'm mentioning Theo Von by name, not to call out other comics like I'm spilling tea. He is above comedy. All these folks are above comedy. They have the influence. They are part of the cultural zeitgeist. I, as a comic, have a responsibility to address that if I choose to, and how I want to do it. And then the reality is what we're all seeing here. That they are dominating. That style is dominating comedy, and comedy does matter. Yeah. Unlike what Howie Mandel felt, comedy does matter. It has influence. You're in front of an audience, and we're not saying you can't do the poop jokes, but you have to be aware of it, and they are aware of it in another way that is affecting people. I thought it was all brilliantly said by Mr. Marin.
And it's defeatist for someone like Howie Mandel to say that comedy doesn't matter. Like that's just openly defeatist, because it also rejects history. It rejects the notion that people can learn from something that's not inherently an educational source. Like Howie's argument posits that only textbooks and people like Howie's argument kind of goes in the same pot as the person that quit listening to Force Center, where it's like, so what, only the experts can weigh in? Like that's kind of ridiculous. Like I don't like, again, like I go to Carlin, like Carlin wasn't a legislator, but how many of us, you know, learned about the broadcast censorship of that era because of Dirty Words and because of that whole concept, and because of like a lot of people did of him breaking that. How many people learned about getting arrested for indecency because of Elvis, because of Carlin? Like it's like that. It is part of it. Like I don't understand people that think that art doesn't matter, but then at the same time we have a whole cottage industry of right-wing bullshit that was built upon 30 years of rap music is making young men violent. So it's like, so black art can make people bad, but art can't say anything good because it has no power. It has all the power and no power. That's conservative ideology nowadays to a T. Everything is super, super dangerous except when it's wiki, woke and tiny. It's like, it's always both. It's Schrodinger's problem. They have no real fucking ideas. It's like trans people are the devil that's going to destroy the world, blah, 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 everything. But they're also too weak to serve in the military. We can't let that happen. It's like, if I had mega monsters that could destroy the world, I would let them enlist. You know, like that doesn't, it does not fucking track. None of it tracks. Does it have power? Does it not have power? Are you a goof just asking questions? Or are you a broadcaster that wants to talk to the president of the United States? You cannot be both. Stupid. Pisses me off.
Yeah.
Howie. Gizmo.
Well, look at Howie is 69. He is 69 years of age.
Really?
He's in the heart of boomerism, and it is about the structures. It is about the structures we all grew up with, and that I was, and I had the structures put on it. It is to stay in your lane. Well, also, hey, listen to this Marvin Gaye song. It's one of my favorite examples.
Yeah, but listen to the song. Yeah.
Listen to this, hey, what's going on? It's so cool, right? Like, that's how I was raised, man. Not by my parents, but like by society. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm,
Howie. Maybe if Howie wasn't
Howie.
known by my generation as the host of Deal or No Deal and known as a comedian, then he would see the power of comedy. Maybe he was too out of it for so long to realize that it did actually have an influence. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
It take us serious, but don't. You know what I mean?
I don't understand why people are afraid. I mean, I do understand it, but I don't understand, I guess, ideologically, sort of like why you'd even want to live your life that way, in a way that's like, well, you know, like maybe this is like a theater kid notion, but it's like, I grew up thinking having a voice was cool. I thought it was cool to stand up for stuff. I thought it was cool.
Oh, why wouldn't you? Yeah, it's a fair question.
It just doesn't. I know it has a lot to do with upbringing and stuff, but it's like when I saw the cool emo girl in middle school breaking our uniform dress code and like, you know, telling off, you know, like telling people about themselves, I thought that was cool.
I think it's it's a great question. Again, it could be part of the generational change. It's clearly individual based, but like, obviously as someone who works in comedy and everything, like I think part of it is when I decided what I wanted to do, it was like, oh, comedy, which you're not tying to the bigger picture. You're not tying to the political stuff. And so suddenly when you're like, oh, now I must also speak on this, it's not why you got into it. And so you don't know how to do it. And so therefore it becomes something you're unsure of. It becomes something you're on shaky ground, and it could cost you potentially. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's some fear. That adds up to fear and nervousness and not knowing how to do it. And I didn't for a long time. I think that's part of the difficulty of breaking through that, that's the difficulty and even, bravery, and that word gets tossed around, but of the Dixie Chicks in the height of the aughts saying, hey, this is probably wrong and getting destroyed. And again, like I said, there's a danger. The world is crazy. This is why I don't, I understand there should also, at a certain level, there should be some caution. John Lennon, as I almost sounded like Howard Cosell. John Lennon shot dead on arrival. His assassination, his murder, was done by a man, Mark David Chapman, who in large part picked Lennon. And this is a big general story, but I was one of those Beatle nerds. Picked Lennon because he considered him a hypocrite. Picked Lennon because he spoke out on these things, but lived in the Dakota. Spoke out on these things, but was also a man who had some violent songs, who also was rich. And it's that he couldn't, of all the things going on with Mark David Chapman, it's like he zeroed in on that. And there's, I know that's a factor in some of the things, maybe, of some of these bigger names. You got to be careful. I get it. There's reality to it. But then break that down to just a small level. You and your grocery store clerk. Like, if a conversation comes up and you're checking out your grocery store and the guy sees a pin that you got that's, I don't know, like a rainbow. Hey, why you got that rainbow thing on? Suddenly there's a danger there that wasn't there 2 seconds ago. So I understand that's part of the factor in too when people aren't speaking out.
Yeah. It was brought up in the comments earlier, but it's like, yeah, of course, like that's important to bring up with Lennon. It's important to bring up with MLK. It's important to bring up with a lot of people. It's like they were killed. And is that part of the American fabric as well? That we have that fear? Is that a fear for someone like a Taylor Swift? I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is wherever she goes. That's
100%. I mean, she's dealt with some stuff.
So that's reality too. But then it's also like, then at what point though do you have the calling to realize that fear is part of it? That's
part of the tightrope.
Yeah, that's part of it, is that it's defying fear. It's confronting it. It's realizing that the mechanisms of fear are what allow these things to continue, whatever issue it is. Like right now, you look at the UK.
Yep.
It's like the UK, for all their police aren't as violent, right? That's what we hear all the time. Their police aren't as violent. It's like, well, their police are scooping people up off the streets for daring protests. They are outright doing fascism right now, and we are too. But it's like, the different methodologies. So they prescribe now, and they're arresting screenwriters, they're arresting elderly people, they're for daring support Palestine action, for wearing T-shirts or whatever. So that's terrorism, but nothing else. It's like that's thought policing, and that's can only be combated by speaking out and pointing out that it is thought policing. And I don't know, it's hard. It's hard. It's disheartening to see that we've made no progress in a lot of ways when you look at like the 60s to now. But
that's that's the field of dreams of it all, with James Earl Jones's character. I think it's one of the important aspects of the film. It's not a baseball movie. It is so much more. But yeah, him talking about, they killed Malcolm, they killed Bobby, right? Like, what do you want me to do? And then he goes and finds another way. He creates computer programs to teach children how to solve problems nonviolently. Like he finds a way, but also loses his faith and loses his desire to speak out. And that movie, which was released in 1989, has scenes of school boards banning books because of the ideas in them. So it is, but all that to say, the malaise, the apathy, here we go again with what we were talking at the top of the show. I asked the question of what does this all matter? Not out of cynicism, but out of like, sometimes it just feels like it doesn't. And that's part of what you said so well. It's part of it and part of what you got to break through.
Yeah. It's really hard. Again, not a solution show. This is what I always say. This is an unpackaged
because we're not experts, Alden. We're not experts.
I know.
So
I know.
Talk about pizza.
I don't think I could really call myself an expert in anything, which is kind of sad. I think maybe I've tried to be experts in things before, but
people call me a Star Wars expert. I was introduced to Jet Lucas in that way, and I always say this: I'm not an expert. I'm a student of Star Wars. It continues to teach me. And then
Serena says that you're an expert in the Gen Z stare.
I had it again the other day.
Yeah.
I had it again the other day.
How did you feel? Were they nice?
I understand it. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I'm aware of it, because I would misinterpret that in the past. I still want people to push through it. I still want the Kurt Vonnegut life is about piddling around. I'm going to go buy an envelope and you and I are going to have an interaction because you're in a job you hate and I need an envelope. Like I still believe that, but I want to remove the boomer side of it, where if that's what you're giving me, I don't force anything else on you.
Sorry, kids now don't know who Vonnegut is because they're going to ban his books from schools too.
Well, that's good. I think that's a good idea.
You see that thing that
PragerU
here in Florida, like some districts banned the Diary of Anne Frank.
I did see that. Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Now, I have a question for the class.
Yeah.
Is that anti-Semitic? Anyone? Bueller? Is that anti-Semitic? Is it anti-Semitic to ban the Diary of Anne Frank? Or is it anti-Semitic to say, please don't bomb children? I'm just curious. Which one is it? Which one isn't? Because it seems like there's some differing opinions.
Yeah. Well, Alden, the Bible says it's okay to bomb the folks occupying Gaza because it's not theirs.
Got it.
The Bible says it's okay. It doesn't.
You making that joke just now made me think of one of the great comedic highlights of the year, which was Ted Cruz being like, well, it says in the Bible to protect Israel, and then Tucker being like, well, where does it say that? In knowing the answer and then letting him fumble and then being like, it's in Genesis. Okay, but thank you.
It's in Genesis. Like, was it Genesis 8? Yeah.
So
Dan, I always say Dan McKellen. Is it McKellen or McQuillan? I got to look it up. He is one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube. He's a Bible and religion scholar, and just goes through it. Dan McClellan goes through it in a similar way. It's you all should watch it when you run into those conversations at the grocery store. There we go. We solved it, Alden. Use your platform.
Use your platform. Speak up for something, and it starts. My final thought would be that it starts small, and it sounds silly and stupid, but like it really does It really does start by you, whoever you are, taking stock of the things you like and asking, what is this thing saying? Like, when we throw around words like media literacy, sometimes it's to, dunk on people that still don't understand what the prequels are about. And you know what? I'm going on record right now, Alden Diaz, as saying I will continue to do so until my dying day. I will always dunk on prequel haters because most of you don't know what you're talking about at all. And I grew up having to deal with all of you misunderstanding it. And now it's our internet. All right? It's our internet. I am the law. It's ours now.
We are the one who posts about Knox.
We post about Jar Jar. So that's my first thought. Is just like take stock of these things and say like what is actually being said here. And I think that's a very simple way to realize that, hey, someone that inspired you or something that makes you happy is saying something, maybe you can too. Like it's just a little bit of a, I don't know why this is, what part of me gets angry because I don't know why this is necessary, because it's like little kids understand like who Rosa Parks is. Little kids understand what activism is at its core. Like they get that. Little kids read books that are about collectivism. They're about sticking up for each other. They're about the democratization of different things. You ever read Rainbow Fish? Anyone? How he has like all these rainbow scales, and then like he gives out his scales so that everybody else can have a rainbow. Like, I know that he's probably a fucking socialist fish according to the right, but like that was a normal thought. When I was a kid, it was like, if you have and others don't, you should help. Like, so it's like that's a platform that we teach little kids, and that expands out. So it's just be critical, not cynical. And people think critical is negative, and it's not. Just break stuff down. Look, talk, understand. And if you happen to be a billionaire and you're watching this, maybe don't be. Maybe give it away. Maybe talk to people. Share a link. Anything.
Give us a super chat. Give us the highest super chat.
Yeah. Maybe give us a super chat. Maybe pay my bills. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Wonderful stuff. There we go. I appreciate the conversation, buddy. And for those out there who are still with us, check out Bedpiece on YouTube. It's available on YouTube, Yoko Ono's official channel. It's just a fascinating piece, just regardless of what it's actually talking about. But also, I think it's got, it doesn't even like it have things to say. It just captures the moment. And you're like, oh, this moment has a lot to say. And I think it's a fascinating part of Beatle history and therefore our history. There we go.
Indeed.
All right. We're going to do this. We're taking it home. We taking it home?
Taking it home.
We're taking it home, everybody. I'll say this. I think we'll have a show next week, or at least a show with me. I'm out of town for a temporary job next week. I'll be back in time, but we'll see, Alden. But
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. He's going to go make some money. He's going to go use his platform.
I'm going to go get one. All right. We'll see you next time. At any time, we got it, Alden. Bye. Ba ba doop ba da ba doop ba dee ba da ba.